Hello and welcome to yet another edition of Sports Today. My name is Sanjana Chauhan, and this evening we are going to talk about how Duncan Fletcher's stint as India's coach is creating a rift between Indian captain Mahendra Singh Dhoni and the BCCI. And to talk about this, we have former Indian spinner Nikhil Chopra and Boria Majumdar joining us. But before that, let's take a look at the headlines. Rains ruin India's day out in Bristol. First one-day match between India and England called off without a ball being bowled. Is there a rift between Dhoni and the BCCI? If sources are to be believed, the top brass in the BCCI is peeved with the Indian captain over remarks on Duncan Fletcher's stint as Team India's coach. There seems to be a clamour to play county cricket among Indian players after Pujara fast bowler Aaron expresses his desire to play domestic cricket in England. Hamilton cries foul after being shoved out of the Belgian Grand Prix as Rosberg faced penalty if found guilty. It's the first day of the final tennis Grand Slam. The US Open begins in New York. Djokovic, Murray, Sharapova and Radwanska in action today. And Indian captain Mahendra Singh Dhoni's vociferous comments on coach Duncan Fletcher seems to have ruffled a few feathers in the BCCI. According to sources in the board, a few top officials in the board have snubbed the captain, saying that Dhoni should concentrate on his cricket. Picking coaches is actually the board's job. Here's a report. Has Dhoni overstepped the line? Has Dhoni gone beyond his brief?
What you feel is a lot more comfortable bowling.
Can he comment on the appointment and stint of the coach? Is the BCCI peeved with Dhoni's comments on Fletcher? If reports are to be believed, the BCCI is not very happy with the Indian cricket captain. And the reactions from the top bosses in the BCCI are as curt as it could get. A day after the Indian captain said that coach Duncan Fletcher is here to stay till the 2015 World Cup, a top BCCI official is quoted in the media to have said, "Dhoni can't decide who should be coach." At the same time, we would also want to add that it is the selection committee that will decide the coach and captain for the World Cup. Now that's saying a lot as far as the relations between BCCI and Dhoni are concerned. So far, the Indian board has always been steadfast behind him.
There is no question of changing MS Dhoni from the captaincy, and such questions are not important at the moment.
But that seems to have changed. The question is, does Duncan Fletcher have it in him to take Team India to great heights? And will the BCCI carry on with him till the World Cup? What if India lose the one-day series in England? What if India have poor outing against West Indies? What if India face another humiliation in the Test series against Australia? What if India lose the triangular one-day series down under? Will the board still like to stick to Duncan Fletcher as the coach? While it is not advisable to keep chopping and changing the core of the team, and certainly not when a huge tournament like the World Cup is around the corner, a surprise could just be around the corner as well, even if the player or the coach has the backing of the captain. Sports Bureau, Headlines Today. And Boria and Nikhil now joining us in the studio. You know, we can evaluate this entire thing based on sources, but Boria, Dhoni refused to say if he had been consulted before the changes were made. It was a bizarre press conference, even by his standards. Before the start of the series, he began all right, but then stopped taking questions about the support staff, saying that he wanted to talk about the next match, and then even refused to talk about Rohit Sharma's role as an opener in the ODIs.
You know, Sanjana, from the very start of this Anderson controversy, the Dhoni-BCCI equation has gone sour. You know, we said this on Headlines Today earlier, that the captain wanted to push that whole agenda during that Anderson-Jadeja case. And if you really want to believe the BCCI did not. Obviously, there was an attempt to sort of, sweep it under the cover. The captain didn't like it. The whole way the appeal was handled, the captain didn't like it. And now this. Has the honeymoon period come to an end? Now, if you really want to understand it, the board is correct. It is not Dhoni's call. It is the selector's call. It is the BCCI's call. And the questions that were being played out there. What if India loses here? What if India loses in Australia? MS Dhoni has no business has no business to talk about whether Duncan Fletcher will remain or not. He should concentrate on the cricket. And if the BCCI official, who we are saying, is to be believed, he's absolutely right. Question, has the honeymoon come to an end? Will Dhoni survive an Australia Test defeat as Test captain? Several questions will be answered over the next few months.
Nikhil, India are looking more at home, trying to hit everything out of the ground at the nets, but massive uncertainty remains around them with what will be the radical changes brought about to the, to the coaching staff, imposed. That sounds more like it from Dhoni's press conference, because on the one hand, he seems so vociferous in his defense on Fletcher, but on the other hand, he was hesitant to talk about anything more.
Well, you see, he doesn't have the results in his favor, Sanjana. So as a captain of the Indian side, and he hasn't had one of the best records in overseas conditions. So of course, he has been pushed in a corner. And talking about Duncan Fletcher, in his probably sort of defense, he's probably thinking that when Duncan Fletcher was taken on as the coach of the Indian team, it was still the 2015 World Cup. But I completely agree with Boria. If you lose the one-day series in England, things will not be looking too good. Or the days would be numbered. But also then, I have a feeling that maybe as coach or as any individual would realize, 6 months prior to the World Cup, I don't think anybody would be looking to change the coach come the World Cup being so near. So that, it's like a double-edged sword for the board.
Absolutely, but tension still remains, and the ODI series have started, and just before that, we take a look at what exactly works for Team India. What are the factors that go well with the team? Those will be the questions before the BCCI actually zeroes down into picking the coach for the team. So here's a quick peek into what the factors are that will be the topmost on the BCCI's list.
There is no doubt that Australian great Greg Chappell was not liked by the Indian team. And there is also no doubt that South Africa's Gary Kirsten was loved by not just the men in blue, but also by the whole country. Two foreigners, two very successful players, and yet two very different and contrasting impressions as coach of the Indian cricket team. So what makes a good coach, and what does not work well as a coach? For starters, a high-profile player often does not do well. Examples are Greg Chappell and Kapil Dev. A very old person too does very little justice to the job. Example is Duncan Fletcher. Being hands-off too does not work. Ask Fletcher again. And what works is a low-profile person like Anshuman Gaikwad, John Wright and Gary Kirsten. A coach who is young and can stay for long hours on the field with the Indian team like Lalchand Rajput and Kirsten again. What's more is, Team India needs a hands-on person. So no prizes for guessing what Team India wants. A coach who ticks more yeses boxes than the no's box. What is also required is that the coach does well not just in India but also abroad. What's noticeable is that while India, Australia and England do well at home, they too struggle in tests abroad. The reins of the team are in Fletcher's hands for now. But does he have the qualities to carry Team India to victory in the 2015 World Cup? That is the big debate doing rounds in cricket circles. Sports Bureau Headlines Today.
And if we look at these shots right now, Nikhil, and several other reports have also been saying while Fletcher instructed, on this chilly morning in Bristol, his trademark sun hat and sunglasses, enter Ravi Shastri, his attire notable for the lack of tracksuit and trainers in favor of jeans and suede loafers. So if that was a departure from, the conventional coaching garb, Dhoni hinting on a more hands-on management style, somebody that will add that sort of comfort in the dressing room. Do you think that actually makes a big difference?
Well, I guess, if Ravi Shastri is going to be there at the helm of things, he's got to be more hands-on. Make no mistake about it. Because, he's been around for quite some time. And when things go wrong, he's been pushed forward. So now that he's at the top of the job, if things go bad, then I guess, he'll have to be answerable as well. And to get the best out of the players, he'll have to get down to the age level of some of the players as well. How to get the best out of some of these players. With the introspective, we keep talking about, Sanjana, each time we lose in Australia, South Africa, England, we know the problems. But why not start addressing those problems? Why does it take, when you lose test series, everybody just talks about, why we've lost the series. When we're going to go to Australia, we all know it's going to be difficult. And every player knows what to go out there and do. Try and simulate those sort of conditions before they get to Australia, or send them, a couple of weeks prior, some of you, at least your core team guys, to get the best out of them. Some of the very key basic things that we need to do to try and get the best out. I hope Ravi Shastri, from here on in would be answerable, and also he should be, if he's calling the shots, he's got to be more hands-on. Make no mistake about it.
Absolutely, because while we noted in this very bizarre press conference, Dhoni may have been, very aggressive about his defense when it came to Duncan Fletcher, but he was absolutely welcoming, Boria, when it was towards Ravi Shastri, because, in cricket and especially on these long tours, defeats can cause depression, disharmony between the team, and, there's been so much controversy. So the only option thereafter is to then get a think tank that has no relationship to solve the issues.
Sanjana, simple question. If Duncan Fletcher is the boss, what is Ravi Shastri doing there? Ravi Shastri overseeing things, Indian cricketers are not kids that they need to be, spoon-fed. What is Ravi Shastri doing there? The BCCI tell us it is Ravi Shastri and Mahendra Singh Dhoni's team. Dhoni tells us